Have you been interviewed a couple times?
I've never been interviewed, hon.
Never?
No.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Ah, well, you just shoot it to me, hon.
Okay.
I'll be just as quick as I can on your answers.
You're fine. No, you take your time. I want to hear a couple different things.
Okay.
You're good? Okay. Well, Gene, this is the hardest part.
What's that, hon?
Your first and last name. And we
Earl
spell it.
Eugene Foote.
Earl. So E-A-R-L.
Eugene.
E-U-G-E-N-E.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was that?
And F-O-O-T-E.
Perfect. Okay. And you said you're from Tulsa?
Yeah.
Originally from Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
But I'm coming back to Tulsa.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Okay. Not
I got to be down. No, I'm not just going to be down here close so where people can take care of me. I just got out of the hospital yesterday.
Good. What was wrong?
3 pints of blood low, and I'm still a little weak. But
Well, you're here though. You made it here.
well, this will probably be the last reunion
That's
of
what
my
I
old
heard.
Navy buddies. We've been through a lot.
That's what I hear. Does he have a mic on? Oh, I'm like, where is it? Oh, there it is.
I had, we had the chaplain on our ship write the song "Praise the Lord" and pass the ammunition. Did you ever hear it?
No.
Well, see, we took on 6 torpedoes one night, and it blowed our ship half in two. They got the pictures of it in there, you can see.
Yeah.
And this chaplain wrote that after it's all over with. He wrote that song, "Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition."
What's the song called? Let me write it down. Praise the Lord
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
and pass the ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
How does it? Can you sing it?
Yeah, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. Praise the Lord, pass the ammunition. And in his writing this letter, writing his letter, he wrote in and said, I slapped their wet, sweaty backs and saying, praise the Lord, pass the ammunition. Because we was in a mad fight that night.
Right. Tell me, okay, so what was, a little bit about you first.
Okay.
Your background, what was your rank?
Ship's cook, 2nd class.
Ship's, say it one more time.
Ship's cook, 2nd class.
Ship's cook, 2nd class.
I fed the boys.
Yeah, well, you were the lifesaver, really. And how long were you were in the Navy? How long were you in the Navy for?
3 years.
Maybe 3 years. Do you recall which 3 years?
Yes, ma'am. 42, 43, and 44.
Wow. And you spent all 3 on the
The
U.S.?
same, yeah.
Wow.
And one time we spent 9 months on that ship and never set foot on land. And 6 months of that, we never even saw land. I mean, we were in the middle of it.
What's the time?
Huh?
35.
Oh, are we going?
No, we're rolling. We're recording everything. You're in the interview.
Oh, okay.
You're
Well,
doing very well.
that's
So you were there. So what? Okay, I know you guys were hit a lot. You guys
Yes,
were one
yes.
of the most. You were one of the most well-decorated ships because
Yes.
you've been so involved.
we got more battle stars than any ship in the United States Navy in World War II. The only ship, man of war, that ever sunk a Japanese carrier. And yeah, we spent 9 months on there and never stepped on land. Went 6 months, never saw it. We took on our supplies and fuel out at sea and running day and night. And when we got our bow blowed off, we went up this river and had another ship, the Honolulu, pull us up this river and push us up against the bank, and we camouflaged it. So the Japs were still looking for us. And that was the night that John Kennedy was, a Jap destroyer run over his PT boat and cut him in two. You know, you've heard of that, haven't you? Okay. And we was there till we could cut away some of that metal and stuff on the front. And then we backed that thing out of there, and we took us 6 days to back that thing to Sydney, Australia. And we got a temporary bow put on there. And then we backed it there from there to Pearl, and then backed it from Pearl to Bremerton, Washington, and they fit us up with a new bow.
Now that was when it was blown off, right?
Mhm.
And was made up with bamboo at first, right? They used bamboo
Yeah,
there to...
we cut down, we went over, we swam this river, went over and cut down trees to brace up our bulkheads and stuff. And we didn't know that them palm trees wouldn't float. We threw one in and it went from the bottom. So we had to cut trees down the next day that we could float. And but we had it, and we had anyway. We just barely made it into Sydney, and we didn't have anything working to tell us where we were at, and them guys with that star shooting stuff, and we missed going into the channel by just a little bit, and we sat out there till they come get us. And they took us in there and put us in dry dock, and done that. But anyway, we couldn't go very fast, and we had to back on account of the water was too much on the front end of that metal.
Gene, what you said you were the cook, right?
Yes.
So what would you cook for these guys?
Just good meals, you know, roast beef, and turkey, especially around Christmas. We crossed the equator one time. We cooked. It was Christmas, and we cooked turkey one day. Went across the equator. It was Thanksgiving again, and we cooked more turkey.
Now that's quite an accomplishment, right, for crossing the equator?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a huge achievement.
Yeah, we went across that. We went into the Yellow Sea after the war was, after the Japanese surrendered, and we rigged our paravanes and cut up them mines that the Japs had put in the water, you know, and we went in there and I don't know how long we spent. I don't remember how long we spent in there cutting them mines loose and shooting them and exploding them.
What was I know that there were a lot, but what was maybe one of the scariest memories you have on the ship?
Well, when we got our bow blowed off, the one that bothers me more is that everybody was killed up front, even the number 2 turret. Number 1 turret was blown away. And we went down into the number 2 turret and pulled them men out. That's hurts me more than anything. That, you know, if I would get thinking about it, because them guys were still standing, they were still in their positions the way they was cranking that turret around. And anyway, we went down in there, and I got sick, and I didn't finish getting my man up there. I went out of the turret, fell on the deck, and they throwed salt water on me because I had a gas mask on and and they pulled that off. It had some electric wires popping in that salt water, and it was a poison. The first guy dropped that hatch, stuck his head up there, he just dropped that dead. He was a ship fitter. He was going to take a look at it. So they put masks on me and a guy called Butch, and we went up in there and went up and down in the upper and lower handling room as far down as we could go. And that's where we started. Them guys was you could tell who they were, but you couldn't hold them because they was burnt. They was cooked. And the New Orleans was a good ship. She brought us home, and I've been with the best guys that you ever saw. But when I get to talking about the turrets down in there, see, I was number 3 turret down in the magazine when the bow blowed off, and I didn't know what it was, but I heard when the turret, that bow was scraping down the side of the ship. And we didn't know what it was, and lights went out, and I was in this powder room. We had no communication other than just through this little scuttle. And I hollered, lights on, what's going on? Said, just hold tight. We get any information, we'll let you know. And we stayed down there in pitch dark. This is about 2 or 3 stories down, and there's no light, no nothing, because everything was tore up. And there's a picture in there. They got it laying in there that you can see what it looked like.
You'll have to show us.
Huh?
Well, you'll have to show it to us when we go back inside.
Yeah.
Tony was telling me, what's the time, guys? Sorry.
42:15.
42, okay. Tony was telling me that he brought a photo from his work, a friend of his, right? It was like his coworker's father, his name, and he was on the USS New Orleans, and you said, "Oh, I knew him."
Yeah.
What? Tell me about that. I mean, how did you remember his name? I mean, how did you?
Well,
who was he? To you?
He was on the 5 inches, and we got acquainted. We was on the 5 inches. I was a fuse setter.
A what?
A fuse setter. Yeah, it's just like when a plane's coming in, the gunner's mate will call the yardage. He'll guess how many yards out there that plane is, and I'll set this fuse setter, and then when that shell comes out of that gun, that plane coming, we fix it where it'll explode, and that way. You don't want it to go past him and explode if you miss him. You want to just keep firing, and boy, he calls them yardage, and I pull it in so close. We can get down to 400 yards if we have to. And
how old were you when you first?
when I went in, 15.
15 years old. Now that was a little young, wasn't it? How did
No.
you get on there at 15 years old?
Well, yeah, I lied a little bit, and I had to change that later. And but back then, that was when that started, huh? I was looking for a home. I was looking for a place to eat, and I saw stuff that I never knew people eat. Because all I was used to is taters and gravy. And, we'd have taters and gravy for dinner and gravy and taters for supper. And, we lived on dirt floors and we worked out in the fields and plowed horses.
Your whole life?
Yeah,
Until this?
up till then. And then when I was born and raised in Poto.
And where?
Poto.
Poto.
Mm-hmm. And when I got out of the service, I met my wife in the cotton patch before I went in the service.
You met her when you were 15?
Yeah, and I went in the Navy and I got my boot camp leave. I hadn't seen her I just met her there in the cotton patch. She's picking cotton too. And I was walking over the viaduct right here in Tulsa. And here she come with another old gal carrying her school books. And I stood there and I said, I know her. When I started walking over there, this Dima walked over and she said, we ain't having nothing to do with no service people, especially a sailor. And sailor was very seldom you see a sailor, they wasn't that many. They was all coming from Camp Gruber, Camp Chaffee, and everything. And I said, well, I think I know her. She turned around and looked, and she says, I don't know you. I said, did you ever pick cotton down there at Gaines Bottom? She said, yeah. And I said, I'm that little freckle-faced guy that helped you pick cotton. Her daddy weighed cotton. And maybe a day or two later, her daddy come over and talked to me. He said, son, I brought sis down here to pick cotton and to work. You see if you can't get a few rows between you and her. And we picked that cotton, man, I tell you what. And it wasn't long till I went overseas, and that's when we got our bow blowed off. And when I come home, I got on my knees and I said, hon, would you marry me? She said, I sure will. And she was my baby. That was the only girlfriend I ever had.
Wow.
And we, like just a little bit, living 61 years together. And I'd like God to give me that another 61 years if I could get it. And but we've seen a lot of hard times aboard ship, and we've had we run with the aircraft carriers, and we had to protect them because that's what the Japanese were after, to sink the carriers. They'd fly over us, and I've seen some. One time we had an air attack, and another old boy and I was trying to. We were trying to get under a garbage grinder. Well, they was flying all over us, but we got them.
What's the time code?
48. So when you guys were at sea, did y'all run out of food at one point, or come close?
Well, when they pulled us out of that river, we didn't have nothing, but they gave us two sandwiches, and we carried them. They just eat one now, because it took us 6 days to go from Tulagi to Australia. And when we got there, when they was pulling us against the dock, the USO band was playing "God Bless America," and I looked at the old boy next door, and he'd be tears running down his face. And I could look down in that building, and they had tables full of Spam, you know, and that old Spam tasted better than any steak I ever eaten in my life. It was good. We were hungry. And we didn't have water the last 3 days. We ran out. And but you know, it's just like I said, you know, God was with us. He's been with us. And I don't know how they made it, put that ship back together like they did, but they was getting the word, and they got the blueprints and everything, and they built that bow. And when we got there, the bow was setting up in this deal. And when we went in there, they let the water out and took that bow and just slipped her right up there and cut her up, and it fitted it.